Look at these three cards. Same content, same layout, same position of every element, but your eyes move differently in each one. In the first card, the title wins because it is larger and brighter. In the second, the prize becomes a hero because it is oversized and styled differently. In the third, a tiny featured badge grabs attention purely because of color contrast. Nothing moved, but the reading order changed completely. That is typography doing its real job. Not decoration, but direction. Most people think typography is about choosing a nice font. Well, to some extent it is. The bigger job of typography is about controlling how people read, what they notice first, what they understand next, what they ignore, what they trust, and what they finally act on. Think of typography as a traffic control for the eye. It tells the user where to look first, what belongs together, where to pause, what to skim, and where to take action. There's also a psychological principle behind this, and it's called the von Restorff effect. Your brain tends to notice and remember the things that look different from everything around it, which means hierarchy is not just a design preference, it's how you guide attention. Now look at this second example. Same content on both sides. On the left, every text element is treated almost equally, so everything competes for attention. On the right, hierarchy is applied properly, and suddenly the layout becomes easier to scan, easier to understand, and honestly easier to trust. That is the first lesson of typography. Typography controls attention. So in this video, we will break typography down like interface designers should, not as fonts as decoration, but as a system for guiding the eye. We'll look at hierarchy, spacing, line height, chunking, font choice, line length, alignment, and contrast. And by the end, you will start seeing typography very differently. Trust me on this. Before we get into the rules, let's get one thing very clear. Typography is not the thing you deal with after the layout is done. Typography is the layout. It is what people actually interact with. Every button label, every heading, every error message, every onboarding screen, every pricing card, even empty state. Remove the type from the app and what you're left with. Colored rectangles, that's about it. That is why typography matters even more today. AI tools can now generate entire landing pages in seconds, and many of them look fine, but fine is often the problem. They look polished from a distance, but when you actually read them, something feels off. The hierarchy is weak, the spacing is generic, the contrast is not always checked. The font choices feel safe in the most forgettable way possible. The point is not that AI is bad. The point is that AI gives you the average of what already exists. And the average of the web is not exactly a design masterpiece. Typography is what separates a template from a product someone actually trusts. There's a psychological principle called aesthetic usability effect. It says that people often perceive well-designed interfaces as easier to use, even before they have properly used them. Good typography does that. It makes a product feel clearer before the user has clicked anything. Bad typography does exactly the opposite. It can make a perfectly functional product feel cheap, confusing, or unfinished. So now that we know typography controls attention, let's go one layer deeper. Once you know what should stand out, the next question is what belongs together? That is where spacing comes in. Spacing is where most typography falls apart because spacing tells people what belongs together. There's a Gestalt principle called proximity. It says that things that are close together feel related and things that are far apart feel separate. That one idea explains a shocking amount of typography. Look at this heading. It is sitting right in the middle, almost equally distant from the paragraph above and below it. So which paragraph does the heading belong to? You cannot tell. Now pull the heading closer to the paragraph it introduces, instantly clear. Nothing else changed, just spacing. This applies everywhere. The gap between a label and an input field, the space between a section title and the content, the padding inside a card, the distance between a price and the CTA below it. If your spacing does not reflect relationships, your layout is lying to the user. And users may not know how to explain it, but they will feel it. They will say things like, this looks messy or something feels off. No one's going to point out typography, but most of the time that something is spacing. So hierarchy tells the eye what matters first, spacing tells the eye what belongs together. But spacing is not only the gap between elements, it also exists inside the text itself, and that is where line height comes in. Line height controls reading comfort. Line height is the vertical space between lines of text. Designers also call it leading. A common rule is to use around 1.5x of your font size. So if your body text is 16 pixels, your line height becomes 1.5 times 16, which is 24 pixels. Now for body text, this usually works very well. It gives the line enough room to breathe without making them feel disconnected. But here's where people mess it up. They apply the same 1.5x rule to everything. Now take a 64 pixel heading. At 1.5, that becomes 96 pixels of line height. Now the lines are floating apart like they had a fight and stopped talking. It looks broken. The fix is simple. As the font sizes go up, the line height multiplier usually comes down. So for a body text, feel free to use 1.5x or 1.4x. For subheadings, around 1.3x. For larger headings, around 1.1x to maybe 1.2x. The bigger the text, the tighter the leading. This is one of those small details that separate someone who knows the rule from someone who understands the rule. A similar rule applies to letter spacing as well. For larger headings, you can tighten the letter spacing slightly. For body text, usually, you can leave it alone. And for smaller text, never tighten it too much. You will kill legibility immediately. So far, we have controlled what the user sees first. We have grouped related information, and we also made text comfortable to read line by line. But now zoom out. Even well-set text can fail if you throw too much of it at the user once. And this is where chunking comes in. Chunking tells the eye where to pause. People do not read interfaces like novels. They scan, they jump, they look for anchors. So when you put one giant paragraph on a screen, even if the writing is technically correct, the experience feels heavy. There's a famous idea called Miller's Law. It is often summarized as people can hold only a limited number of chunks in working memory at a time. The exact number is debated. Some say it is 7, some say it is 4, but the design lesson is fairly simple. Do not make people process too much at once. When you dump a paragraph with 10 different ideas into a screen, the brain freezes. Not because the user is lazy, because the layout is asking them to do unnecessary work. This is why we break content into scannable pieces. Short paragraphs, clear section headings, bullet points when they actually help, white spaces between blocks. You're not dumbing it down, you're designing for how people actually read. Look at this setting page. On the left, there is one massive paragraph of instructions. Technically, all the information is there, but nobody wants to read it. Now look at the same content broken into 3 short chunks with mini headers. Same words, completely different experience. Chunking is basically spacing at a macro level. The same idea that helps you decide the gap between a heading and a paragraph also helps you structure an entire page. Typography is not just letters, it is rhythm. Hierarchy tells the eye what matters. Spacing tells the eye what belongs together. Line height tells the eye how comfortably to move. Chunking tells the eye where to pause. Now the next question is, where should the most important information sit? Because placement also changes what people remember. Placement decides what sticks. Once your content is broken into chunks, you need to decide where the key information goes, because users do not give equal attention to everything on a screen. They usually read the first thing, they skim the middle, then they look for the decision point. There is a psychological principle called serial positioning effect. It says people tend to remember the first and the last items in a sequence better than the middle. For interface design, the lesson is simple. Put the key context early, let the middle carry the supporting details. Put the final action or takeaway where the decision happens. Take a look at this pricing card. The plan name and the price needs to be visible early because they establish the context. The features sit in the middle because the users will scan them, and the CTS sits where decision happens. This is not a random layout, this is attention-aware typography. The same applies to onboarding screen, product pages, documentation, and long-form content as well. Front-load the point, support in the middle, and reinforce it at the end. Do not fight how attention works, design for it. So now we have structure. We know what should stand out. We know what belongs together. We know how to make text readable. We know where attention naturally goes. Only now should we ask the question most people start with. Which typeface should I use? Font choices gives the interface a voice. The beginner mistake is thinking more fonts means more design. It usually means more confusion. So for most interfaces, start with one strong type family. Use it different weights, sizes, and style to create hierarchy. If you need more contrast or personality, add one more typeface. 2 is usually plenty. 3 is possible, but only if you really know what each one is doing. Every extra typeface add another visual voice. And if those voices are not clearly playing different roles, your interface starts feeling haphazard. The classic pairing is one serif and one sans serif. But the real principle is not category, the real principle is contrast. You want fonts that clearly different from each other but still feel like they belong to the same room. Different structure, different personality, but some shared underlying quality like similar X height, width, or overall proportions. That is what makes a pairing feel intentional instead of random. Here's a good pairing. One font handles utility and readability, the other brings personality and emphasis. They are different enough to create contrast, but not so different that they look like they were invited to 2 separate weddings. Now here is a bad pairing. 2 fonts that are too similar to each other. Maybe 2 geometric sans serif. Your brain can tell that they are different, but cannot understand why. Better than that is to use just one single typeface, which is absolutely fine. One more thing, AI tools often default to Inter or a handful of other safe Google fonts. Now that is not wrong. Inter is useful, dependent, and honestly a very good typeface, but it is also the plain gray t-shirt of UI design. It works almost everywhere. It just may not say anything unique about your product. So use safe fonts when clarity matters, but when your product needs personality, your font choice is one of the first places where the personality begins. Font choices give the interface a voice, but even the perfect font fails if the reading column is uncomfortable. That brings us to line length. Line length controls reading rhythm. Here's a rule that takes 10 seconds to learn and will improve every text-heavy layout you touch. Keep your body text between 45 and 75 characters per line. That is it. Too wide and the reader's eyes struggle to find the next line. Too narrow and the text becomes choppy because the line breaks keep interrupting the rhythm. The sweet spot for the most web body is around 60 to 65 characters per line. Depending on the typeface, that can often land somewhere between 600 to 700 pixels of content width for a typical 16-pixel body font. Look at this example. On the left, the text stretches across a 1440 pixel screen. It technically fits, but reading it feels like you're doing cardio for your eyeballs. On the right, the same text sits inside a proper content column. Suddenly, it feels calm, readable, designed. This is why max width matters. For responsive design, do not think about breakpoints. Think about measure. Measure is the length of a line of a text. Log the measure, let the margins flex. That one decision can make your layout feel dramatically more professional. So line length controls the reading rhythm. But once that line length is right, the eye still needs a predictable starting point. That is alignment. Alignment gives eye a path. For any left to right language, left align your body text. That is the safest and the most readable default. Left alignment gives the eye a consistent starting point for every new line. That means faster reading and less fatigue. Center alignment is not evil. It has its own place, like short hero headlines or small blocks of text, wedding invitations, maybe poetry, maybe an emotional quote, if the quote has earned that much drama. But center alignment is not exactly for paragraphs. The moment you center align more than 3 or 4 lines, the ragged edges on both sides makes it harder to read. The eye has to search for the start of every new line. The small effort adds up. Alignment is not just about making things look neat, it creates rhythm. When every line starts from a predictable place, the brain stops hurting for structure and starts focusing on the content. And consistency matters here. If your headings are left aligned, your subheadings should usually be left aligned too. If your cards use left aligned text, do not randomly center one card because it feels nice. Every consistency creates micro friction. The user may not notice it consciously, but the interface starts feeling less reliable. Good typography creates a system, and systems only work when they're consistent. So now we have almost the full path. Hierarchy tells people where to look. Spacing tells them what belongs together. Line height and line length makes reading comfortable. Chunking gives them pauses. Font choices give the interface a voice. Alignment gives the eye a path. But none of this matters if people cannot actually read the text clearly. So that brings us to contrast. Contrast makes the path visible. Your text needs to be readable, not just readable on your MacBook, but readable for everyone on every device and for every human, or as large number of humans as possible. WCAG guidelines set a minimum contrast ratio of 4.5:1 for normal body text against its background. For larger text, which means 18 pixel bold or 24 pixel regular and above, the minimum is 3:1. These numbers are not there to annoy designers. They exist because real people use your product in real conditions. Bright sunlight, low quality screen, tired eyes, older eyes, temporary vision issues. The most common offender is a light gray text on white. Designers love it because it looks clean and minimal. Users hate it because they literally cannot read it. Subtlety is great, but not at the expense of legibility. And contrast is not just color. Size contrast matters as well. Weight contrast matters. Style contrast matters. A well-set page uses all of these together. You should not rely on color alone to create distinction. That is especially important because AI-generated designs often repeat common contrast mistakes from the training data. So always check your contrast manually. Use tools like Stark or WebAM's contrast checker. Even Figma has one inbuilt inside it. It just takes seconds, and it can save your design from becoming a beauty accessibility complaint. Typography is direction, so that is the system. Typography is not one thing, it's a series of decisions that guide the eye. Hierarchy tells the user what matters first, spacing tells them what belongs together, line height tells them how comfortable to move through the text, chunking tells them where to pause, placement tells them what to remember, font choices give the interface a voice, line length controls the reading rhythm, alignment gives the eye a path, contrast makes sure the path is visible. When typography is done right, you do not notice it. You just read, understand, and act. But when typography is wrong, you feel it immediately. Something feels noisy, something feels cheap, something feels harder than it should. And in a world where AI can generate an entire screen in seconds, typography becomes even more important. AI can generate the screen, but typography decides whether that screen feels usable, trustworthy, and human. The rules have not changed. The role as a designer who applies them with judgment has only become more important. So the next time you're designing a screen, do not start by asking which font looks nice. Start by asking, what should the user read first? What belongs together? Where should they pause? What needs emphasis? What needs breathing room? What needs to be easier to read? That is typography, not just decoration, but direction. This is Saptarshi signing off. See you all in the next one.